Okay. So XAMPP is starting its PHP MyAdmin. Now say I just choose a database, MySQL database, right? Or maybe I can choose DB contact and go in SQL. And if I just copy that code from the slide and paste it here, and I click on go. Okay, and you can see a color table has created on DB contact, right? So DB contact, and you can see this color table created here, and also this inserted data. Now, if we like to call this, so let's go, and in our next slide here, so we have to use call. How do you call? So call will take this form. Call, it's a keyword, and next is procedure name. So let's call get all colors, and then just paste it and click here. Oops, we need to select the procedure, right? And SQL here, go run. Did you create the procedure? Oh, we didn't create the procedure. We just only created this table. So if you go, I tested is another place. In procedure, you can see we created a function that's called get all colors. So I created the table. Also, I created this procedure. Now, in this procedure, if you call SQL and here call get all colors, and you'll see the output here. So you know how to create a procedure and how to call a procedure. And to store programs are database objects. So stored programs are database objects, are user defined, but stored on the server side for later execution. So when you created a procedure, it is saved in a server side. And if we go back in PHP MyAdmin, you can see here, see this procedure, and procedure is created in the server side, get all colors. So it will not be stored in your local machine, rather it will be saved in a server. So this is very important information to know about function and procedure, that if you create a function or procedure, means user defined function and procedure, those are stored in server side. This differs from sending an SQL statement from the client to the server for immediate execution. So when you call this, say, if you write any SQL statement on this window, or maybe in the command prompt, it will be executing right away. But if you call a procedure and like this, then it will actually retrieve or call that procedure or function from the server. So, and we'll know what are the benefits and limitations of those calling from a server side procedure, stored procedure and functions. Now, the importance of stored procedures. So the first advantage is reduces duplication of effort and improves, so reduces duplication effort and improves software modularity. So you don't need to create again and again or write the code again and again. So multiple applications can use to store procedure versus the SQL statement being stored in the application language like PHP. So that's why I told if you create a procedure and save it, it will be stored in the server and you can reuse it again and again without writing the same code again and again. Reduces communication and data transfer costs between client and server. Instead of sending multiple lengthy SQL statements, the application only has to send the name and parameters of the stored procedure. So this is another advantage of using stored procedure. Can be more secure than SQL statements. So this is a little tricky and hopefully you will understand. So at the later time of this course, we'll be going to learn different privileges that you can assign based on the user or table or view access. Those are we are going to learn. So even in procedure and functions, means user-defined procedures and functions, you can set privilege to different users to access this procedure. So this is a good thing. If you have some user, you don't want to give access to a procedure, then you can control access of those. You can limit those commands in your server and by the way of using procedure. So this is a good thing, and permissions can be granted to certain stored procedures without granting access to the database tables. So database tables is your data. So instead of giving access to the table, you can actually give access to the procedure, and thus that procedure only retrieve that part of data from that table. So this is a very good feature while using procedure in your system. Now, there are a couple of limitations of procedure as well. So difficult to bug. MySQL does not provide ways of debugging stored procedures. So now if you're using C# or .NET, other coding thing in .NET platform, or PHP, or I mean any other procedural or object-oriented programming language, they have their debugging facilities, but MySQL really don't have that efficient debugging facilities, although the compiler tell us the line number, what is the problem. This is one of the downside, but it is also true that a MySQL procedure is not very big sometimes. It's most cases is not that lengthy like an conventional programming language procedures. So many stored procedures can increase memory use. So the memory stored, the more stored procedures you use, the more memory is used. So this is another downside. But our machines are very efficient now. Our internet is very fast now. So I don't believe it is a huge problem, but those are those two limitations. But you can see if you compare with the advantages, obviously stored procedure has more advantages compared to its disadvantages. All right. So do you have any questions so far in these 3-4 slides?
And hi, Professor. And can we use Microsoft MySQL Workbench instead of PHP MyAdmin?
You have difficulty using that, or
no, Professor. I just asking.
Oh, so your question is, can you use Workbench instead of XAMPP, right?
Yep, Professor.
Okay. Should be okay, but at some point when we'll be talking about different privileges and log file, so Windows applications are good. Probably I'm not sure if it is that efficient to give you access for those log files. We'll sort out, okay? So, but I'm going to help you to learn XAMPP as well. And I love XAMPP because XAMPP give you like raw access of everything. As a programmer, you need those. But Windows software are great. It's a nice wrap, and it avoid to give you some raw access of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll sort it out. No worries. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ted. All right. So we talked about procedure, how to define a procedure, how to run that procedure, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of stored procedures. Let's move forward. If you have any question, you can interrupt me. I don't mind. Okay. Now, these, you can see there is an example of procedure here, and that is more complex. So the example we showed you earlier, the all colors example, is very easy or very simple, right? But in this example, you can see this is more complex. But it is starting with the same procedure. You started the delimiter, so it tells the system that a separate code segment is starting. Now we'll use the create procedure, then you give the name of the procedure, then begin keyword. Now this code segment is new compared to the earlier example. In earlier example, we only have a single statement that select all from colors, right? So instead of that easier code line, here you can see number of codes, and it's more complex, and it's use the if then else command here. And I believe in level 1 you learn if then else. Do you? Just could you please give me a feedback, yes or no?
Yes, Professor.
Yes,
Very
Professor.
Wonderful. So you know what is if then else, and it is pretty much the same logical reasoning that you learn for other programming languages for your other course, even in JavaScript if then else structure. So now you are declaring a variable like current time and another day part text. Set current time is current time. So see, in this procedure, you are actually calling a built-in function, right? Current time equal to CURTIME, and you can see say built-in function there. Now, if current time is less than 12, then say day part is morning. And we know before 12 noon, it is AM time. Else, if our current time is 12, equal to 12, then set part is noon. Else, the remaining time is 12 or after. So not 12, like anything after 12 will be afternoon or night. Then this if is ended here, end if. Now select current time and day part. Now end, this is end of this begin. Here you can see. So this end is, I can just draw a line. This begin, end up here. This delimiter is ended here. And this if is ended here. And if you run this procedure, means to create this procedure, then if you call with this call statement, it will show you the output of which time of the day. So let's go back. I can copy this code. And for saving time, I actually created this procedure here, the show part of the day, right? And let's run this procedure or call this procedure. And you can see is 13:29, so it's 1:30, means 1:29 and 21 seconds, and it is afternoon. So say if you need an application to show or improve, or you don't need to find some functions every time. Rather, you can just write a procedure that will be saved on your server side, and you can just call and ask the procedure to do the task. All right, good. So let's move forward to the next slide. And you can see here the difference between stored procedure and functions. So in stored procedures can return 0, single or multiple values, but function must returns a single value. So this is the main difference. You see, this is a single value for user-defined functions, and it's a multiple values for procedure or stored procedure. We can use transaction in a stored procedure, but we cannot use transaction in user-defined function. Now, what is transaction? I know you have some idea, but we are going to learn transaction in detailed form in next few lectures or next couple of lectures, right? So a stored procedure can have input or output parameters, right? That you can see in this previous example. In function, it is only input parameters. We can call function from a stored procedure. We can call function from a stored procedure, and you can see this is a stored procedure, and we call this function current time. So this is an interesting example. Now we cannot use a stored procedure in select where having statement, but we can use user-defined function in select where and having statement. So hopefully this table help you to understand procedure and functions. Okay. So any questions so far? So I hope it is clear to you.
Can we call the function? Can we call the customize function in stored procedure?
Means more than one?
Yes.
I believe it's possible because you can see we assign this current time function with a variable, and we can use more than one variable. In that case, obviously you can. This makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being brave and ask questions. Okay, so that's all about stored procedure. Now we are moving forward to functions. Moving forward to functions, and you can see this is a this is the general form of the extended function we used in this slide. So delimiter, procedure name, this is the SQL code segment, then begin and end SQL statement, and delimiter. So this is the general form for extended form of a procedure. Now, parameters, types in stored procedure. So unlike stored function parameters, which are input values only, so from the difference of functions and procedures, we know functions can only take input values, right? There is no output. So in a stored function, parameters, which is only input values. Parameters can be any three types: in, out, and out parameters. So if you go in a stored procedure, you can see those variables: in, out, out, out. So those are those keywords here we need to know. So in is a keyword, out, in, out is another keyword, and out is another keyword. So when you're writing an extended form of a procedure, you might see all those three different procedures or one of them at least. So this in parameter is for input only. This is the default if you specify no type. So if you don't specify a user defined variable either in, out or out, then by default the system will take this is an input parameter. Otherwise you must define as in, out or out. So and what is the in out do, or what is the in out does? An in out parameter is used to pass a value in and can also pass a value out. So this is a single variable, has two roles, as an in means input and for output value, right? If you marked it as an out, then it cannot take an input, only it will pass an output as an output of that function. Means an out parameter is used to pass a value out. Thus, to produce multiple values from an operation, you can use in out or out parameters, right? So,
Professor, I have a question.
yeah.
So for this in and out, these procedures, where can we use them in like practical point of view? Like, how can we use it
Yeah,
in
let's go
real
an
life
example.
scenario? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand your question. So as soon as we see an example that will give us an idea where are those keywords are applicable. So let's see in this stored procedure, and it returns multiple values. So this is familiar. We started with delimiter, right? Now this is also familiar, create procedure, and this is the name of that procedure. Now the complexity starts. So user, this is an input variable, and the type is variable character type or varchar. Now those are those output thing, messages, total size and average size. Those are those um, two different type of variables. Now from experience, in this example, I didn't use any in out keyword, rather I only use in and out keyword. So at the very starting, if you like to use a user defined variable as an input and output parameter of a procedure, then that variable has a multiple roles. So to reduce the complexity from programmer's point of view, I believe you can use different keywords to define a variable or parameter as an in and out. Now, there are few things I can explain you. So if you use more variables, it will take more memory. But if you use less variable, it will take less memory. But again, when you will be use that variable as an in and out, may create confusion. So in general, it is a good practice to use in and out separately. But when you have enough skill or a procedure is like kind of a simple with couple of variables, you can define a single variable and in and out. So I hope this answers your question a little bit, right? Okay.
Yes.
So now in this stored procedure is starting here, and this is the SQL code block. So this is the SQL code block. This is the definition of, we are defining procedure. Okay, and those are those variables. in, out. Now, those are those comments. You can see this symbol is used as a comment. I believe it is, you are in the second level, so you know those things. So now use in full to return 0 for sum and average. In case of there are no rows for the user, these functions return null in that case. So select count. So it's a count, it's a built-in function. For fall, all means the all rows. If null, so sum size is 0. So if there is no message, it will be 0. In full, average size, either average size or 0 into messages, total size and average size from mail. So from mail means mail is a table, that mail table where source user equal to user. Now let's look at the table so that it will give you an easier, it will help you to understand this example easily. So we can see these mail sender stats. Now I should have a procedure. I should have a table called mail. You can see this mail. So this mail has some date, time. Here is the source user, source host, and destination user and destination host. So they are transferring some message in between source and destination, right? And this is the mail size. So the procedure we are writing will retrieve the average of the mail size sent by a certain source or sender user, okay? So source and destination, so source user. And so if you run these message like call the procedure, call mail sender, stats means statistics, and this is the name of that procedure. And if you call that procedure with this Barb, right? Barb is a user. I can show you here. You can see Barb, right? And Barb sent multiple messages. 1, 2, 3. So 3 messages, right? So when Barb sent messages, they can find the total size and average size of that messages. So let's copy this code and run in MySQL. So here we are in DB1, right? So let's go in DB1 and let's go here, and call mail sender. What is this? We expect it here. It should run here. Go. The end was expected to be at position 110. Okay.
Hello, Professor.
Yeah.
That barb string is like not proper.
Which
BARB.
one? The barb?
Barb. Yeah, the last quotation is not proper.
Oh, okay. Right. Yes, here you go. Can go here. Again, this. Yeah, this is a wrong symbol there. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Let's run this. And you can see the Barb sent 3 messages and total size this and average size this. All right, I can fix the slide, I guess. So it should be this. Thank you so much. Okay, it is not actually taking these symbols. I have to remove this one from here. Now it should work. Okay. So you understand that how this complex procedure work, right? So in and out and in, and there are 3 different kind of keywords to set the characteristics of a parameter that used in a stored procedure. Is that clear, folks? Or do you have any question? Okay, so in the week 1, you can see in I go in content. Week 1, you can see this zip file. So all codes are there. So please download that code and run that code. I'm going to help you after this presentation or after covering this lecture. So I'm moving forward to next slide, and you can see how to drop a procedure. So drop a procedure, we have 2 keywords, drop and procedure. Then we have to write the name of the procedure and it will drop the procedure, right? So let's see, do a practice here. We go here, go in SQL, and you can see in the server side in the procedure, you can see mail sender stats is there. So let's go in SQL and to here, drop procedure and procedure name. And we got a message, do you really like to delete? I said yes. And you can see in the procedure, it is gone. Okay. And there are extended version, drop procedure if exist. So say I already created a procedure in the system, and if we use this procedure at the beginning of a code segment, then it will delete the old procedure, means that you created earlier, and recreate that mail sender procedure again. Otherwise, you might see an error message that the procedure exists and you cannot create, because you cannot create the procedure multiple times with the same name as a variable name and all other thing you know. Okay, so that's end of procedure in our discussion. So do you have any question for me on procedure so far? Is it too complex? How do you feel? Do you feel it's too complex? So I'm sure you had some idea procedure from last semester. I just extended it here so that you can go more deeper and work with those different kind of variables and parameters. Seems good? All right. I also give a textbook link. So if you go in your eConestoga and if you go in your e-text module, you can find a link there, right? I can show you. Here, if you go in e-text here, and if you click here, it will bring it to the book website. Now you can see here, I already logged in, so I'm just going to log out from here. How to log out? There should be an option. I just want to show you how to log out. Profile. Let's see if I can log out from here. Okay, sign out here. Okay. So say let's click again so that I can show you. Oops, not here. In the core shell. So if I go here in the core shell and click the link, and you can see the sign in option at the very right top corner. Click on sign in. Now put your email address and obviously your Conestoga email. Click on continue. And I am with Conestoga. Yes. So sign in with SSO. SSO means single sign on. Single sign on. So that means you will use your Conestoga email address and the same password that you used for your Conestoga email. I clicked here. Now I have full access of the book. And if you click here, you can find the different chapters. And today I am talking about procedure and functions, and this is chapter 9. Now, if you like to make a PDF copy, then you have to select the text like this. And you can actually scroll down. I'm not sure why it is not giving to scrolling. Oops. You can actually see the scroll down and it will bring you to the end of the chapter. If you have a PDF copy, that's easier. That's why I'm showing you this trick. Otherwise, you cannot print off. You have to always read online. So I'm telling you all those little tricks so that you can keep a copy of the PDF. Right? And you can then right click and you can say print. And you choose Adobe PDF or any PDF maker that there are a number of free PDF, and click on print. And you can save, say I'm saving in my desktop, and I can see in the desktop, there should be a PDF file there. It is still creating. Oh, it is taking a while. That's interesting. Should be done soon in few seconds. Do I need to save the name somewhere? Okay, do I need to save the, I'm not sure, let me find out from here. No. Here. And still saving. Okay, let it do the printing. We can start talking about our slide again. So you can save that way. I'm sure you can do that. And if not, you can just Google it with the book title. You can find a lot of PDF in free of cost. So that's, you can collect your book. And today I'm talking about procedure and functions from the chapter 9. So you can find all those detailed examples there. Okay. And I also added this zip file with the codes that I'm running here so that you can execute at your end too. So we are moving forward to functions, right? Now we we know the difference between functions and procedure. So mainly function only return a single value. And this is the, here you go, the PDF created now. You can see this PDF now. It's nice and clean. So you can save a version of this thing. And all the examples I am talking in these slides are taken from that book. And here is the physical PDF copy. All right. Let's move to there. So function, and instead of this is create function, and this create keyword also we used in case of procedure. So instead of procedure, we are writing here function, and you are giving a name of the function. Then those are those parameters, and those parameters are only input parameters. Now returns data type, and now the SQL block. Now in this function, when you'll be define function, you can see two keywords. Number one is return and number two is returns. So what are those two keywords? In a function, you may see the following two parameters. One of them is returns, and it specifies the data type that can be returned from a function. So it is specifying the data type that will be returning from a function. And the second one is return. There is no S at the end. You can see there is no S. So actual variable or value following the return syntax is what is returned to where the function was called from. So if you go in an actual example of a function, you can see here a simple function. So we started with delimiter. You know what is this? So this is a separate code segment starting here. Now create function and function name, that is a defined function. Now returns, it returns integer, and begin in this code segment, we are returning an integer and the value is 12. Now this end is this begin end, and this delimiter is end of this delimiter. Now if you call this function, and it will create, it will return you 12. So let's see, I'm not sure if I did run this function. So here should not be that long, but it seems like it is kind of slow. Let's refresh it.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So as you told in the lecture that the procedure can return a multiple values and
Yeah.
a function can return a single value.
Uh-huh.
So function here is a returning integer value. So procedure can return only one type of a like integer values. Procedures can return multiple values or of a different data types, sir.
In functions?
In procedure, sir.
In procedures, different types.
Different types.
And also function can return different types, but the difference is multiple or just one. That's the difference.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. And let's go in the code segment here, function. And I can see this function name. Yeah, I can see this function is created. And if I go here, function name, that's returning the integer value here, you can see. Now, so let's call name, and let's see what happened. If it is a function, then we have to add a function thing. Oh my gosh, function, function name that I wrote, I believe. What's wrong? So I'm in DB1, that's correct. And I'm calling, let's check the function name. Function name, yeah. And here, function name, and I'm calling call function name. And I can add this. Procedure DBON function doesn't exist.
And we should use select function name. Oh,
Select.
yeah.
Oh, this is a function.
Yep.
Okay. Select function. Okay. State, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. So you can see this function now, user-defined function is returning this function name 12. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the slide. And in this function, you can see this important thing about the difference in the structure is the returns and return, right? So we need to return an integer in these user-defined functions. Now let's move to next slide. A stored function hides the details to make the calculation easy to perform. So this is another advantage of a stored function. So a stored function hides the calculations that you need to do manually with different SQL statements. Rather, you can write it in a function, means the user-defined function, and call or select that function to see the output. And see, this is a more complex function here. And you can see these returns. So it's decimal and reads SQL data, begin. And here this code is SQL code segment. Now declare rate, that decimal. Declare count, declare continue handler for not found set, rate is 0. So this is a error handling code. So this line is for error handling. Say you are trying to find something but not in the table. So this code segment will help you to set a value if that value you are looking for in the table is not there. Say if we look at a table for 10 rows, then we know what is there. But it is in a practical case, we might see like thousands or hundreds of rows in a table. So we may not know if it is there. And if you write a procedure and if you don't have error handling code, that probably will be like in a deadlock situation and keep trying to find that. Rather, or maybe it end up with no results, that might confuse you. So it says like, if there is no rate, then the rate will be 0. Now the select tax rate into rate from sales tax rates. So this is a table where state is state code and return. So let's see if we have a table sales tax rate table. So let's go back to the MySQL, and if we have that table, I believe I created somewhere. I tested all those codes actually, should be somewhere. Sales, oh, in DB3, I believe I tested that. Yeah, so sales tax rate. And you can see those are those provinces or states of United States of America. So AKAL, those are those 2-character code for all those different states in America. And those are those tax rates. So in this table, if you call this function here, so if you create this function, and if you call this function and select this function, now there is a trick. If you look at that code, I can show you. You can create this table, right, with this code that's available in your end, in your detail week 1 material. And you can see this data is big, so we don't have any insert statement here. Rather, we put that data in a text file and we call it to insert data from this table. So this is a good learning, I believe. So loading data from a text file. So if you have a text file like this that you can see here with this tax data, and say if you like to create all cities or all countries table, then that will be 210 values, right? So you can create those in a text file like the way you access the JSON file. And this text file have the data, then created the table and call this text file to load that data. So you have
But
to put,
Professor, in this text file, all the data is in a order. But what if the data is not in order? It's like jumbled or
yeah, you can sort it. You can create a view of that sorted data, right?
okay. Yes, Professor.
Yeah. We will continue all those things. So those are the tasks for views. You can create the views from a table based on your choice. So you can sort it in that time. Or you can create that text file in a sorted order, but probably it might not be a case many times. So that's why you have views, so that you can create a table view based on the view that you like if you like is a sorted form. So you have to use this text file in a certain location where the database is there. Then you need to use this command to load that table. So load data in file from this text file into table and the table names. So this is a good learning, and I believe we can practice this in our today's lab class at the end. So if you call this procedure, and let's see what is the sales tax rate for New York, and I cannot remember which province is that or which state is that. So let's see. Let's call this SQL command, and we're in DB3 here. And let's go. And you can see this is 1% and this is 9%. So two different state has two different percentages. And you can see if you go in the table, we can see New York is 0.3. Let's find New York. Excuse me, where is NY? I can see K. Oh, there are 25 lines, so you have to go further. Here you go, NY. Oh, it's 09. Does it display 03? That's interesting. Let's go in SQL.
Might be it is present in the next record. So
Okay. Oh no, 09. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so it's correct.
09 only, sir.
Yeah. So there is one value. Okay. All right. So this is another good thing. You learn how to load data from a table, from a text file. And I'm sure probably you know how from JSON file, or you will know from the other format as well. Now, this is the command for dropping a function. And if you like to use the if exists keyword, and I'm sure you're familiar with this if exist command from your level 1. So let's summarize the function and the procedure. So a stored function, which can also be called user-defined function or just a function, is an executable database object. That means it will be stored in server side that contains a block of procedural SQL code. With MySQL, you can only create scalar functions which returns a single value. That's the difference between procedure and functions. To identify the data types that returns by a function, you will use the returns keyword in the declaration for the function. Then in the body of the function, you use the return keyword to specify the value that's returned. A function can accept parameters that work like input parameters of a stored procedure. So you can see the 3 keywords in, out, in, and out. So for function, it is only in. A function cannot make changes in the databases, such as executing an insert, update, and delete commands. To call a stored function, you can use it in an expression just like a built-in function. But procedure can do, so you can see this line is important. A function cannot make changes to the database, such as executing an insert, update, or delete statement, but a procedure can do. Okay, so this is the book reference, and also you have available from the e-text link in your module. So that's all about today's lecture. So it took me almost an hour. So I hope that gives you some solid idea about function and procedure. So you need to follow this. So the key difference is function only return one value, but different data types, that's fine. But procedure, multiple values. And the most powerful thing about procedure, it can update, edit, or delete from a table, but a function can't. But user-defined function and procedures, both are database objects, means when you create them, it is stored in the server side. And you will call or select to see the output or pass that parameter to a table. I hope that helps to understand function and procedure. All right, thank you. Do you have any question for me?
Hi, Professor.
Yes,
So,
Shomi.
yeah, I see the differences between the functions and procedures. I mean, most of the things I see like the positive things about the procedures, right? So I'm wondering, like, in what cases we use functions, we choose functions over procedures. Like, do you
Which
have-
cases?
Yeah, like, I
Yeah.
mean, I only see the pros of procedures over functions, right? So I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wondering if we use functions.
Yeah. So say for user-defined functions, right? It cannot update, edit, or delete, or add a row in a table.
Yes.
It only returns some value, and that you can pass as an expression or whatever. And the another powerful thing about procedure is you can actually call a function inside a procedure. So say if you need to perform a very customized calculation, you can write a function to return that value and call by a function. So obviously, if you can write a function, that's more effective than, if you can write a procedure, that's more effective, and you can actually perform almost everything using a procedure.
Yes. So that is what confusing me, because
Yeah. That's I understand your question.
Yeah.
So if you like to write a procedure, actually even it call a function. So you understand. The objective is how do you use the value or output of a function on procedure.
Okay.
So probably if procedure is well enough to handle.
Yeah.
right? It's a very good question. I understand. Means your question is, if function is that powerful, why should I use function?
Yeah.
But sometimes function just to give you a expression, right? Like,
Just like a plain
yeah, say
distribution.
say I don't know if it is, say I'm flying on a plane and I don't know whether it is AM or PM or which time zone I am.
Yeah.
Maybe you can have a little app and check it, like whether I'm in AM, PM, or in the noon.
Thanks, Professor.
Even in Canada in winter, when there is no sun,
Oh
actually I
yeah.
don't know
I see
whether
that a
it's
lot.
6
Yeah.
6 p.m. or 12
Yeah.
noon.
Especially like in this remote situation, I don't even know like if it is a morning or
Right. All right. So let's take a 10-minute break. I know you took a lot about function and procedure, and we'll come back at 2:25 and we'll start our lab. It sounds good?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, we'll see you at 2:25 then. Hello, everyone. Do you have any question for me? Okay. I hope you are around and back to your computer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, do you know what to do now? Did you pull up that information?